Liverpool hypocrisy, Lee. Liverpool hypocrisy. You know what I'm talking about?
I have no idea.
Do you think it's right by the media to condemn a player if he's tracking a man, or he's meant to be marking a man or pressing a man, and he just gives up in the middle of a game and just lets the guy run off away from him? Should that be condemned? Is that, you think that's like could almost be seen as a sackable offence?
Say that again. If he's what?
So if a player doesn't press his man, lets his runner go, stops chasing the man, gives up, like Bruno last week, it's a terrible thing for a professional player to do.
Repeat offenders, and they're just aimlessly strolling around the football pitch, not doing their job, then they should be dropped. Yeah,
because
I said that about Bruno. I said Bruno should be starting.
I agree if they're repeat offenders. My question isn't really to you, but I want to discuss it with you. Virgil van Dijk this season has given up on his runner about 4 or 5 times that have led to goals. Why are the media not condemning him as a son of a gun like they did Bruno Fernandes? And that's a bit of salt from me, but on a real level, I'm talking Liverpool here. What an horrendous performance from them. And what was Virgil van Dijk doing? Letting his man run. And where is the media outrage about the greatest Premier League centre-back of all time letting his runners go, Lee? Talk to me. Lee.
Well, most of these people are Liverpool ex-players or Liverpool fans in the media, Terry. Yeah, there's loads of them. They're everywhere. And secondly, Virgil van Dijk's got more credit in the bank performance-wise than, say, a Bruno, for example.
I get that.
Yeah, so I get it, but at the same time, he is finished. I said this at the start of the season or mid-season, whatever it was. He ain't on it, mate. Like, that injury's killed him off. He's lost his pace. He's lost his composure. He's scared to go into tackles. And then by the time he decides, shall I go in for a tackle or shall I stand off? The amount of times I've seen him off balance this season is crazy. Right. Like, and doing that little spinning like a ballerina with his leg up in the air. I've seen him do that about 5-6 times in the last 2 months.
Or not press, or he's in the box and doesn't press someone enough, or he lets them run off of him.
He's scared to tackle. That's the problem with him. He's scared.
It's crazy. And
you should do a video on him. Virgil van Dijk is scared.
And someone here says that, Terry, you are clutching. VVD should be condemned. That 7-0 is hurting you. The thing is,
he's been crap all season.
Hang on, let me just respond. Sorry, mate. People have been saying to me, it's nothing to do with the 7-0 about Bruno. There's no excuse for him to, like, 6-0 down, to not go over a runner and mark his man. At no point, at no score in the game, there's no excuse for ever allowing your man to run away from you. So my question is, therefore, a better player with a higher standard, not losing a game 6-0, there should be a much bigger condemnation for letting your man just run away from you and just not bothering to track him back. I'm obviously Liverpool fans, and Lulu that said it. I'm obviously being sarcastic as opposed to being serious, because what did I actually say about Bruno Fernandes? That the over-indexing of that moment was over the top. I felt he was almost being scapegoated for a lot more problems that were happening on the day. And what did he do 2 days later against Real Betis? Good team in Spain this year. He absolutely balled out and bossed it. And even at the weekend, when we went down to 10 men, this man had to go and drop into like a holding midfield role. And he ain't very good at that. But I was actually happy with his performance, because for me, like, we were struggling then. We had three of our best central midfielders out of the game for one reason or another, and he had to go into a role that wasn't his. But listen, I'm being sarcastic about Virgil van Dijk. What I'm actually talking about is how horrendous how big his drop-off has been. And when I say the hypocrisy, there's just no call-out from the media. And I've seen legends of Arsenal, United, Chelsea as examples where if they go 2 games without performing, headline, condemn. This man has had probably the most horrendous season by a world-class centre-back standards, taken on, failing to press, caught in high lines, letting players run off him. I mean, when you look at Liverpool, they were really buoyant, thinking they were going to make the top 4 after beating United 7-0. After that performance against Bournemouth, do you see them overtaking Newcastle or Tottenham now? Has your mind changed at all?
I don't know, man. I don't know. They've been a weird team this season, haven't they? But have you seen their next few fixtures? They've got Real Madrid. Is that today?
Tomorrow.
So who's playing tonight?
City Leipzig. Yeah.
Okay. Leipzig. Yeah, so they've got Real Madrid next. And then after that, I think they've got City in the league. Then they've got Chelsea, and then they've got us. Like, where are their next 3 points coming from? Because I don't see them getting anything at the Etihad. As much as I'd love them to, that'd be great for us, but I don't really see it. And then they're not getting They may beat Real Madrid. Real Madrid have been so crap this season. It was only that performance in the Champions League that got everyone giddy again. But I've watched every game of them this season pretty much. They've been shocking. So they may get something against Madrid, but they ain't going through. So that's them out of the Champions League, season done. Yeah. So what can they do? They have to go and beat or get something in them next 3 games in the league. And Chelsea, as bad as they've been, well, Liverpool have been just as bad. Let's not forget that. They're both crap this season. Yeah, they probably won't beat Man City. We've got to play them at Anfield, and I'm more confident this season about beating them than I've been for a decade.
Yeah.
So if they don't win any of them next 4 games, all of a sudden they're back down to 9th. It's mad, isn't it? Like, take the Champions League out. The next 3 league games: Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal. Yeah, I'd say they'd be lucky to get 3 points out of that. But again, this season's been crazy, Terry. Who would have thought they'd slap you 7-0 and lose to Bournemouth? So you never know, they might win all 3 of them.
In fairness, we have a Liverpool fan that comes on the show called Zane, and he said, as much as he was happy when they beat us 7-0, he was saying to Liverpool fans, calm down, don't go too mad. We've got to play Bournemouth next. And everyone laughed at him. And he said, I just don't fancy us to beat them.
They didn't even look like scoring. I watched the game.
They were all.
They didn't even look like scoring.
Liverpool are where they are in the league because they've got so many world-class players. And what I mean by that is they've been horrendous as a unit, terrible as a team, but they have those players with such quality for those individual moments of brilliance, whether it's great saves from Alisson, whether it be, even though they've had bad seasons, their defenders can pull off some good moments and some good tackles, and they've still got players that score you some goals. It's the only reason they are where they are is because they've got so many high-quality players. But as a unit and as a team, they are absolutely horrendous. And listen, Man United go to Anfield. There is definitely a mental block my club has there, and it's going to take a lot of work to get over that. They rightfully beat us. But I just don't think City at the Etihad, as an example, I don't even think Chelsea at Stamford Bridge will have those same problems. They will exploit that high line. And then then Arsenal go to Anfield. And this is a different Arsenal team to what we've seen in the past decade or so. This Arsenal team goes there against this Liverpool team with their swagger and their confidence. That you could put them to the sword at Anfield. And I think it would be, considering Anfield is a place that over the last 15 years, Arsenal have gone to and been beaten up on a number of occasions. It would be almost poetic for you to go there and that be a win that who knows how many points will be clear by then, but almost rubber stamps. You could be 8 points. You could be 8 points clear by then. A win like that would almost rubber stamp your Premier League titles, and to do it, it would be poetic and beautiful to do it there. But I look at this, they've got to get at least 6 points out of their next 3 games, in my opinion, Liverpool, to make the top 4. They have to do it because it isn't about the mathematical gap after those 3 games. It's the likelihood of maybe 2 to 3 teams ahead of them all dropping more points than them between now and the end of the season. The probability of them overtaking 3 teams is low. They've got to win 2 of their next 3 games.
I think the thing is, though, the 3 teams that they could be behind are Tottenham, probably Brighton and Newcastle. Like them 3 maybe. So like Brighton and Newcastle have got no sort of credit that you could say, well, actually they've done it previously. They've got above them. Like Tottenham, you can say, cool, yeah, they will potentially make top 4, but it's Tottenham. Like, it's Tottenham, and they're crap, mate. Like, and the thing is, as soon as the pressure is off, they go and beat Nottingham Forest. Well, I expect them to beat Nottingham Forest, even though I actually didn't think they'd win the game. You should be thinking they'll win the game. The only reason I didn't think they'd win that game, I did a show with Henry the other day. I said, you ain't beating Forest. Because none of them care. Like, genuinely, the manager couldn't give a shit whether he's there or not. Yeah, the players couldn't care whether they're there or not. Half of them are nicking a living. The only thing I will say about Tottenham is that may have probably been the best game for them to kickstart their top 4 again, because they got the worst away record in the league, Forest. Like, you know, it's crazy because if they'd scored that penalty 3-2 with 4 minutes to go plus stoppage time, or 3 minutes to go plus stoppage time, might have been a different game, isn't it? Yeah, but fair play to him. He saved the penalty. Yeah, they didn't really do a great deal. Tottenham were the ones making the run in, and Tottenham deserved to win the game. But the problem with Tottenham is they'll go and beat Forest, and then they'll go and lose their next game. Yeah, then they'll go and beat Man City, and then they'll go and lose to Southampton. I think Southampton is their next game, isn't it? You watch them lose to Southampton now. As soon as you think Tottenham, oh yeah, they're in the running, they're going to get top 4 now, they'll go and drop points to some shit team. And it's the same with Liverpool, which is why it's going to go all the way to the death.
Yeah, no, it certainly could. And look, United have got 2 tough games. We've got a game in hand, which is away at Brighton, and our first league game back after the international break. We don't play any more league games now because we're in the FA Cup. Is Newcastle away? So, and we don't have Casemiro. So, I look at it this way: we lose to Newcastle, and we're dragged back into that top 4 race, which is very disappointing. Which I don't think a lot of Reds saw coming. Beat Newcastle, and I think that puts us just because of our consistency this year, it's slightly better than a lot of the other teams. I think that gives us a really good chance. But there is a comment here that says Terry ignores all the recent games from Liverpool and just says we've been horrendous. Well, recent games. Let's just have a look at recent games.
5-2 against Madrid.
Hang on, let me just go through this. So, 2-1 loss to Brighton, 3-0 loss to Wolves. Very good 2-0 win against Everton. And then a 2-0 win against Newcastle, where even though they were down to 10 men, they had abundance of chances against you, and your high line was being exposed. The game after that, you got smashed, your high line exposed again by Real Madrid. You were then very poor away against Crystal Palace in a 0-0. You were very good when you beat Wolves 2-0, and you smashed Man United, and then you lost to Bournemouth. So there's been 3 very good performances. You've had 4 losses and a draw in that time as well, my friend. So when you say ignoring you, no, I've said you've had some really good results, but you're inconsistent and your high line's being exposed. I think any Liverpool fan that is making content or pundit that's lying about how good your form is, they're lying to you. You need to listen to me. Like, trust your dad. Trust your dad. I'm telling you the truth here. Liverpool can make the top 4. They can make the top 4. But they have to get something out of these next 3 games.
This is how far they've fallen, and you're talking about good seasons and good runs of form.
You say how many clean sheets. See, clean sheets is a good statistic, but when you watch the game, you go back to it. Barring the Wolves game, okay, the other 2 clean sheets, like Palace, you were poor in going forward and attacking. Anyway, but the Newcastle game, your high line was exposed. Even against Man United, we got in against you. Now, there are games where teams will get in behind and you'll pull off saves or they'll miss their chances. If that happens once every couple of games, it's nothing to worry about. But when it's happening in 90% of your games, Liverpool fans, if you're not criticizing that or worried about it, you're lying to yourself. It isn't. When you played Newcastle, I know a lot of Liverpool fans, and we spoke after the game on air and after, they're like, glad we won. But my God, if it wasn't for Alisson pulling off some saves, that would have been a different match. When you're relying on your goalkeeper to save you, your team's got problems. How do I know this? Because for years, without David De Gea, we'd have finished in mid bottom half because he made so many saves. I want my goalie pulling off great saves, but one a game, one every 2 games, one every 3 games, not 4 or 5 a match. You don't want to be relying on teams missing chances.
Yeah, but Terry, this is what football fans do. It's all about what the most recent. Like the rest didn't matter. Yeah, the rest does matter. Last season, they were literally a Rizzler paper away from winning a quadruple. Yeah. Right? This season, they're talking about, oh, look at our recent last few games. We're pushing for 4th. Mate, no disrespect. No disrespect at all, yeah? They have literally won 1 game more than Fulham. 1 game more than Fulham. They've lost 3 games more than Brentford. They've only won 2 games more than Chelsea, who have been in dire straits all season. They've won 2 games more than Aston Villa, who sacked Steven Gerrard when he had him in a relegation battle. Like, let's be real with it here. Brighton, they've won 1 game more than Brighton and lost 1 game more than Brighton. And Brighton have 2 games in hand on them and are 3 points behind them. Is this where Liverpool are now? Let's just look at the most recent form. No, let's have a look at the whole season where you lot were tipped to win a title by a lot of people, including you, Terry. You tipped them to win the league.
No, I did. I did think they would win the league. And they've dropped off massively. And this is it. They are. If you go over the last 5 to 6 games, they're 3rd or 4th in the form table, which looks very good. But you cannot ignore losing to Bournemouth. You cannot ignore drawing to Palace, and you cannot ignore the getting smashed by Real Madrid. And within those wins that you had the one against Newcastle where you were consistently being exposed at the back. And if you're consistently exposed at the back in the vast majority of your games over a 10-game period, you were going to lose 3 or 4 of those matches, which is what's happened in your last 10 games. Doing that means if you go into your last, after these next 3 games, you're going to have about 7 games remaining, 8 games remaining. Based on your run rate, you're losing or dropping points in 4 of them. So if you don't win at least 2, of your next 3 games, that means So you lose. That means you're going to go into your last 8 games needing to win all 8. You haven't won more, Liverpool, and I'm going to get these facts right now straight up
I
for
don't
you.
think they've won 3 league games in a row.
And this is my point. So if you look at the season in its entirety, even in this good run, you've won 4 games on the bounce between November and in December. So the last 2 games before the international break and the first 2 games. Outside of that, even in this good run, you haven't won more than 2 games on the bounce. So go back to what I originally said before you all start saying the 7-0 cut Terry deep. Terry can't take it. No, I said if you don't win at least 2 of your next 3 games, I don't think you'll make it because your run rate and your form this season has not been good enough. Now, if you lose your next 3 games, but Spurs lose 2 of theirs or 3 of theirs and Newcastle lose all of theirs, then we're going to reset. But I don't think those teams are going to do that. I don't think they're going to lose as many as you in the next 3 matches. So you've got to win them. That isn't a dig. It's a cast iron fact. And you can keep burying your head in the sand and crying all you want. But it's as simple and as straightforward as that for me. And to ignore it is crazy.